Yet another bowl game tonight, and it should be a good one. The Fiesta Bowl out in Phoenix pits Oregon from the Pac-12 and Kansas State from the Big 12. Oregon's currently installed as an 8-point favorite in this game on BETDAQ. 74.5 is a total. That's a big number. That's because we expect a lot of scoring in this game. Two great offenses. Kansas State averages 40.7 points per game, 411 yards per game. Now that's impressive until you take a look at Oregon's offensive numbers. The Ducks average 50.8 points per game. That's second most in the country. 550 yards per game. Chip Kelly just has it rolling up there. I know they're great players and great athletes, not to take anything away from them, but Chip Kelly's system. Outgo guys like Darren Thomas, LaMichael James, in come redshirt freshman Marcus Mariota, Kenyon Barner. I know Barner's been a big part of the offense for the last couple of years, but he's really emerged this year as a feature back. And the offense just does not miss a beat. Now, we also need to talk about DeAnthony Thomas, maybe Oregon's best offensive player, maybe the most electric and exciting to watch player in all of college football. When this guy has the ball, do not take your eyes off of him. He is so fast. Now, he's technically a receiver, but plays some running back too. They get him the ball in a bunch of different ways, and I think that's the way he'll be used in the NFL as well. He does not have the size to be an every down running back or most likely an every down wide receiver. I envision him being used in much the same way the Saints used Darren Sproles, who of course is a former Kansas State Wildcat, and we've seen what a successful NFL career Sproles has had. Wouldn't surprise me at all if DeAnthony Thomas follows the same path. And speaking of the NFL, those college football fans who love watching the Oregon Ducks and Chip Kelly's offense, and why not? By the way, if you haven't seen Oregon play, do yourself a favor and watch this game tonight. They are just so fun to watch. High scoring, they're interesting, inventive. They're primarily a run-based spread team, but they pass it plenty too. Marcus Mariota throws the ball better than any quarterback Kelly's had yet at Oregon. But they do different things. They go at warp speed from time to time, taking less than 10 seconds between the end of one play and the snap of a next. They spontaneously go for two from time to time. They keep defenses off balance. Hard to stop, fun to watch. Do yourself a favor. But if you're a college football fan, as I was saying, you might want to watch it tonight if you can, because we might not see it much longer in college football. Chip Kelly, if you believe the reports, has 3 interviews lined up with NFL teams for next week, the week after this game. So signs are pointing towards Chip Kelly taking an NFL job. He apparently turned down the Tampa Bay Bucks job last year. Who knows why he would choose now as the time to make the jump, but it sounds like, or it feels like that's what's going to happen. What kind of effect will that have on the Oregon team tonight? Really, it's tough to predict. Now, Kansas State's in a very different situation from the coaching perspective. They also have a great coach in Bill Snyder. But Snyder, no NFL team's beaten down his door. That's because he is one of the oldest coaches in the profession. Remember, he retired, and everything he built at Kansas State really came unraveled in the Ron Prince years. So Snyder came back and rebuilt this program. What a great coach this guy must be. Kansas State, a great season this year. If not for that disappointing loss to Baylor, the next to last game of the season, they would be playing for the national championship. Colin Klein, a Heisman Trophy finalist, dual threat guy, more of a runner than a passer, but has developed in the passing game this year. Kansas State also with an excellent front seven on defense. Top 20 in the country in rush defense. They're led by middle linebacker Arthur Brown. This guy's a future NFL player and probably the best defensive player on either team. Now, will Kansas State be able to hold up against this Oregon rushing game? I have my doubts. We haven't seen any defense really hold up against the Oregon running game. I guess the last 2 SEC defenses they've played, LSU and Auburn, had more success than any other team we've seen. But the Ducks just look unstoppable at times. And Kansas State, you look at their numbers on defense, 95th in the country in pass defense. Oregon likes to run it more than they pass it, but they do throw it quite a bit with Marcus Mariota. Now, how much of Kansas State's defensive numbers, 95th in pass defense, top 20 in rush defense, how much does that have to do with the conference they play in, the Big 12, which is full of pass-first teams? I think maybe a lot. Now, I've seen Kansas State play several times this year, and there's no doubt they're better against the run than they are the pass, but they don't have that dominant type of front seven. It's not like, I don't think they'll be pushing the Oregon linemen back into the backfield. So I'm not sure Kansas State's going to have that much success slowing down this Oregon ground game tonight. Now, from an Oregon's fans or an Oregon's bettors perspective, what I would be most concerned about is Colin Klein and this Kansas State rushing attack just being able to go right down the field on Oregon and really controlling the game and controlling the clock. Now, Oregon's defense is better than the numbers would indicate. They're 50th in the country in yards allowed, but that's because they're on the field so much. The offense scores so quickly that Oregon's defense almost can't help but give up a lot of yardage. They're on the field so much. They're an opportunistic defense. They make plays. They led the country in turnovers this year. Oregon forced 39 turnovers this year. Now, that's an area where Kansas State also excels. The Wildcats forced 31 turnovers. So, ball security going to be of primary importance, or it's going to be key for both the offenses. Going to be of primary concern, I guess, to both the offenses in this game tonight. Both these defenses done a good job of keeping offenses out of the end zone. They allow a lot of yards, but not a lot of points. Oregon 26th in the country in points allowed at 22 per game. Kansas right there with them, 24th in points allowed, 21.1 points per game. Listen, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game here tonight. If you think it's going to be a relatively low-scoring game, I think that coincides with the Kansas State play. If I like Kansas State +8 in this game, I think I would also lean towards under 74.5. Because like I said, if Kansas State wins this game, I think it will be Colin Klein and that physical Kansas State running game really taking it right to the Oregon Ducks and sort of controlling the time of possession, keeping Oregon's offense off the field as much as possible. And if that happens, if Kansas State's able to hold the Oregon offense to high 20s, low 30s, and keep it that type of game, maybe Kansas State +8 and the under might be a good play. I'm not sure I envision that type of game. I think it's going to be sort of a tight nip and tuck for the first 2 or 3 quarters. I think Oregon's going to pull away in the second half. I do lean towards Oregon here, -8. Now, it's not one of my favorite games. I don't feel very strongly about it like I do the BCS title game here in a few days. But if I had to make a play on tonight's game, again, feet to the fire, I lean towards the Oregon Ducks, -8.